Good morning. It is Monday, January 20th. Big day today. It is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day today, as well as Inauguration Day and the College Football National Championship. So if you want something to avoid the political conversation today, we have a lot served up for you so you can join the non-political conversation with sports. Tonight is the College Football National Championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame. It's being played in Atlanta in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And the stadium is continuing its fans-first concession pricing for the national championship game. Sodas are $2, pretzels $2, hot dogs $3, fries $3. Most importantly, beer $5. It's a big game tonight, and Notre Dame is coming in as the underdog with their head coach, Marcus Freeman. He's been there before. He played a national championship game during his college football days for Ohio State. Their team lost in the 2006 national championship game to Florida. Now, nearly 2 decades later, Freeman faces a similar situation versus his alma mater tonight. If you want more on tonight's national championship game, make sure you tune into the podcast that came out on Wednesday, all about the college football championship game. It's a great podcast, lots of great things to talk about that don't have anything to do with what's happening on the field. Moving on, let's talk NFL playoffs. The weather was a winner this weekend. It was miserably cold, sleety, snowy. In a lot of the games this weekend, we saw the number 1 seeded Chiefs defend their home field advantage in frigid temperatures to beat the Houston Texans. Many Texans fans thought that the game was us versus the refs, but Mahomes and Kelsey combined for a touchdown to extend their playoff record, and their head coach, Andy Reid, became the 4th head coach to reach 300 wins, and he joked that if you guys get a couple more wins, you might be able to equal my weight. You've probably seen Coach Andy Reid on some of the State Farm commercials going after the Nuggies. Longtime Chief fan Caitlin Clark, well, she was in the suite with her idol Taylor Swift, looking like they were having a great time. Moving on to the Washington Commanders game against the Detroit Lions. The Commanders stunned the football world Saturday night and Ford Field, upsetting the number 1 seeded Detroit Lions. Their rookie quarterback, Jaden Daniels, looked wise beyond his years in his first postseason game, and they took down that number 1 seed. The other 2 games, we had the Buffalo Bills beat the Baltimore Ravens in the battle of the MVPs, and we had the Los Angeles Rams versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles brought home a win over the Rams. Let's talk a little tennis before we head on out. Novak Djokovic, well, he was there at the Australian Open, which is the first major of the tennis season. He skipped an on-court interview after the match saying, "Thank you very much for being here tonight. I appreciate your presence and support to the fans." And he said, "See you next round. Thank you very much." Now, he skipped this on-court interview as a protest against Australian Open broadcaster after their reporter Tony Jones made a mockery of Djokovic's Serbian fans. And so he said, "No, thank you." Now, Novak and Carlos Alcaraz, 2 of the best in the world, 2 different generations, they're meeting up for the first time in the quarterfinals of the tournament. So they'll play each other next. Alcaraz is in the news because he's been, what they're saying, over-sexualized for being whistled at and hooted at from the crowd in Australia when he was changing his shirt courtside. Some of Alcaraz's fans responded on Twitter saying, "Imagine if this was happening to a woman." Apparently, it was very uncomfortable if you were there, according to what I've read. So something to keep an eye on as these 2 face off in the quarterfinals. Coming up this week, we have the NBA playing in Paris. If you're also looking for some great stateside basketball, check out Unrivaled, this 3-on-3 women's basketball league. This started to keep WNBA players in the country versus having to travel outside of the country in their offseason. The Winter X Games are this week. We have NFL playoffs next weekend. And on Sunday is the anniversary of Kobe Bryant's helicopter crash. That's what we have for this week ahead. Have a great week. We'll see you here on Wednesday for our Wednesday Wisdom podcast, all about true crime. So stay tuned for that. Have a great week. Check us out at lastnightsgame.com. And if you love what you hear, hit that subscribe button.